Today we're going to be talking about a new Phantom and Surtr banner that will be coming to global. Will it be worth pulling on? Let's talk about in this video. Alright, so first character we're going to talk about is Phantom. Now a lot of people will say that Phantoms fell off because of Kirin X Yato. He does offer us something a little bit different with his third skill, which I do want to mention, and he does have the clone. I don't really like comparing units specifically unless they have the exact same kit. I feel like Phantom does actually differentiate a little bit in its own way, but obviously, should you be pulling for him? We'll talk about that in a moment, but let's go through his skills first of all then. If we talk about his first skill does offer physical dodge and also give him a barrier. The problem with this skill is that it's not 100% chance that he's going to dodge it, so he could just get hit straight away, and the fact that he's got a barrier doesn't really prevent him from taking a lot of damage. He could still get pretty much wiped out either way. If we talk about a second skill, this is probably the skill that if you want him to do as much damage as you can get out of him, using this second skill makes a lot of sense. Obviously, this just kind of stacks attack and gives him more ways of actually doing damage. And his third skill does offer something different. It does allow him to kind of do a bit of crowd control in a sense. Now, this does depend on weight, but he can push enemies back. And he also has a chance of either stunning, slowing, or binding enemies. Now, this lasts for 4.5 seconds at max, which this is like an extra use for him. If you want to use him for this skill, I'd probably say this is the most viable skill even down the line, but the second skill is the one that you probably want to use if you want to do bigger damage overall. Now talk about his modules. His first module actually refunds him a large portion of his DP back. Obviously with any fast deploy unit, that is fantastic to have, but it also at level 3 reduces the redeployment time of his clone by 16 seconds. So honestly, that's a pretty big difference. Having 16 seconds off his redeployment time of his clone, in a lot of cases, can actually help out a lot if you are planning to use him. And with his clone as well, you want to ideally be using his clone because it is going to get the most out of him. The stats are relatively similar, and that moves me on to the second module. The second module does actually give him extra attack and also gives the clone extra attack, HP, and defense. In most cases, I would say this is probably the best skill to go for if you're looking for damage. But the first module is pretty good if you want to be able to redeploy the clone quicker. I think that's probably got pretty good value, especially since that is the thing that differentiates him from the likes of Yato and Texas. Or in general, I would say this is probably not a unit you want to pull for, especially on a standard banner like this. You could get him for recruitment, you could also get him off banner. I personally just couldn't recommend pulling for him now. One thing I forgot to mention actually in this video is you can also get him from the yellow certificate shop. So you can get him there. If you really badly want him, you can get him from the yellow certificate shop. I just would not use pulls at all. Would I say he's worth it from the yellow cert shop? No, just my opinion. Alright, next up we're going to talk about Surtr. This is probably one of the best units in the game, but she is very good, and you might have heard previously people say, just Surtr it. Just Surtr it, honestly, at that point. But let's talk about her skills. First of all, I want to talk about her third skill because her third skill is the one that does really good damage and also allows for a lot of really cool stuff to happen. So first of all, not only does the range expand, also she can hit 3 units at the same time with this, and this only takes 5 SP to go off. Now just take into account, in terms of arts damage, she does a lot of arts damage with this skill, which is very solid. Of course, if you're going up against a boss or you're going up against several enemies, this is going to be good regardless. Now, the one thing I also want to mention is if she does go below her HP, she will actually stay alive for 9 seconds regardless, which is obviously very nice because being able to just tank hits after that, just being able to output the damage still is really helpful. And this is where her talent really comes in clutch with doing big damage. She actually reduces the resistance of enemies she's attacking. So basically what that means is if you're doing any arts damage with Surtr, she can actually reduce the resistance and you will end up doing more damage. If the enemy has high resistance, this is fantastic, makes it a lot easier. Now talk about her second skill. To be fair, this looks pretty consistent and it just looks like it gives her additional attack, gives her 1 additional block of range, so you don't have to have her tanking anything. And honestly, I really do like the skill because it's just consistent. If you're a new player and you just got Surtr, using the second skill is still pretty valuable. I would personally say the third skill is just generally better, but if you do find yourself in a situation where you are using your second skill, it still is a very solid skill at the same time. Now, before some of you actually just go ahead and run away and start pulling on this banner, I really do recommend not pulling on it. Now, why do I say that? It's because with standard banners, they're generally just not worth pulling on unless you want both of the units and there's no good banners coming up. Unfortunately, with Arknights, there is always a good banner coming up. There is an Ines banner for your anniversary, some solid joint operations banner, and there's even later banners onwards. If you want to go ahead and see what banners are coming up, I do have a video on my channel. Go ahead and check that out. But I would personally not recommend pulling on this. But yeah, I think that pretty much does it for this video. If you guys have any comments or anything you're wondering, please do join my Discord. I will help you out. We have a great community on there. Honestly, it's hard to keep up with the amount of messages there are now, which is honestly a nice feeling. So if you want to ask anything Arknights related, there is the perfect place. I also have a second channel, so if you want to go ahead and check that out, I will leave a link in the description. And if you want to like the video, drop a like. Anyway, before I start advertising all video, thank you for watching. I will see you next one. And most importantly, adios. Also, I could use some help because I'm trying to get a better profile picture. So if anyone out there knows anyone who does profile pictures for YouTube or even banners as well, I would really appreciate it. And that's all I want to say.